Hello, everybody, and thank you for waiting for our 5:15 show of episode 3 of Ladies of the Empire. I have Miss Peachy Brown here and myself, Tony Cole. We may or may not be graced with Miss Lovely Gina repping the Bay. And our other three ladies who would be joining us today are either at a wedding or doing something as far as with the graduation. But we do appreciate everybody being here today with us. We're going to have a fun show. And if you haven't already, please hit the like and subscribe. And if you haven't already checked out the links, I'll make sure I get the links inside the description if they're not there already. But yeah, we'll get into this. I'd like to say hello to the chat. We have Mr. Bebop here, Mr. Ty Austin, and then we have Mr. Brant Culp, and we have Mariah. Hey, Mariah. So that's always fun. But today we have just a few things we'd like to talk about. But I believe one of the most important things to talk about is positivity throughout the offseason with the 49ers fan base, the faithful fan base. Sometimes we get on social media, and then you see it, PG. It's like there's either people that agree with us or disagree with us, or just people that are just way out there. And at the end of the day, we're all 49er fans, and we'd like to be able to stay within that realm of, even if we don't agree necessarily on everything, it's okay to be, believing one way or another. But at the end of the day, we all root for the same exact name on the front of a jersey. And some of the things I've been seeing is just kind of upsetting because, like, we want everybody to just remember that regardless of if somebody doesn't agree with you or if they do agree with you, let's be positive because this is going to be a great season. I believe it. We haven't had this many great of seasons for a very long time, so it's really a treat to be able to see the Niners play the way they're doing. And at the end of the day, we really don't know what to expect, and that can go for any year. But it's just the quarterback situation as far as people agreeing or disagreeing. Like, I love any person, whether it's going to be a starting quarterback, a starting linebacker, a starting kicker. It's nice to know that at the end of the day, our 49er fan base can just come together and not fight each other as far as within our opinions, because some of the things that we've seen are people are kind of like pushing each other away, and we're all on the same team as far as the 49er faithful fan base, and we just don't want to do that. And if it helps to be on a show and listen to somebody, or to just kind of reflect and just remember that, cool down for a moment and just understand that we never know what to expect, regardless of how much football we know, how much intel we have. We want to just remember that this definitely is going to be a very special year. What do you think, PG?
I agree with that. And you are right what you were saying about we haven't had this long strand of good years, great years actually. So I definitely feel like this is going to be another great one that we're going to have. I agree with you on the positivity. It has gotten out of control on Twitter. It really has. It's crazy because one thing will get settled and then something else will pop up and it'll be, it's like it's always just something that someone finds to argue about. And it can be something very tiny. It can be something really major. So I definitely agree with you. At the end of the day, we're all 49er faithful, and we should be rooting for the 49ers that are going to be out there, fighting to try to bring us a Lombardi.
Absolutely. And with the 49ers organization, I don't want to sit as a fan and believe that the organization is going to treat any player on the team in any unfortunate way, even with the situation as far as not knowing who the starter of a quarterback is going to be. Because really, in my mind, is I would like to see Trey Lance start. I would like to see this guy or that guy start. But if I were to use any example, I'm going to start with the quarterback situation. I would love to see Trey Lance come back and start again. Because what had happened with him, unfortunately, was not his fault.
Right.
It's being a victim of circumstance. You play a physical contact sport. The guy was named a starter. He should be able to come back, even regardless of how well Purdy played. We all, as a fan base, regardless of if we're Team Purdy or Team Lance, we want to see, it's not completely written off. Trey Lance needs to come back and still give us his special physique of, let's see what you can do, star, because that's what they are at the end of the day. They are all stars. And we want to be able to see everybody get a fair opportunity. And, with Trey Lance and even Brock Purdy being as young as they are, and Kyle Shanahan coming out and saying, hey, I have two guys I can win at with, it's like we shouldn't pit at each other because, one believes one guy should start, one should be another. You know, I would like to see a shocker. I would like to see Trey Lance be given, regardless of who says the leader of a clubhouse is. I would like, as a fan, to see Trey Lance come back out and finish what he had started. And then Brock Purdy, he's still young. He can still always come back, if unfortunately Trey Lance doesn't work out. But he should prove himself. Lance should be able to give that opportunity to show, hey, I only got injured because of an unfortunate situation. I should still be allowed to come back out and give you my all, like a professional that I am. And
Right.
that's what I'd like to see. And then, and if it takes two quarterbacks to go, I know some people are like, that's crazy. But, if it takes two quarterbacks to get through an entire season, at least we have two of them that can help us win this. But
Yeah.
I wanted to start off with something positive because some of the things I've been seeing on social media, and with social media, it's kind of like it definitely has made the world a lot smaller because, now everybody has a lot of information and now everybody has, it just seems just so you can't like really express yourself face to face and you're expressing yourself behind a computer or a phone or a computer, whatever. It just definitely seems like some situations become escalated because now you're like, hey, I'm behind a computer. I don't have to answer to anybody.
Right.
But, it gets kind of upsetting because, you know, win or lose, at the end of the day, we're all still going to be Niner fans. And we just need to remember, just hang tight, regardless of however this whole season turns out or any 10 years from now, whatever the seasons may be. We just want to remain faithful to the 49er franchise and know that this is going to be a wonderful season.
Yeah. There are some I will add this. I I believe that there are some people that we have in this. No, I don't believe it. I know it. That we have some not so um desirable 49er fans that we have that are not like their agenda is not like just a 49ers fan who just likes a quarterback over another quarterback, what I'm saying, because of whatever their agenda is. Hate, like
Yes.
pure unadulterated hate, like just whether it be race or whatever it is. And those are the ones that I have a problem with. It's
I've,
like, how can you call yourself even a football fan if because let's just face it, Tony, like 75% of the league is black. So you're rooting for these teams, but you're a racist. Like what are you doing? So you see like a whole like you have like this corner, this back corner of the 49er world, and the fans that cause these problems with other fans. Like they literally just like put these things out there, and then it causes these other 49er fans who can't exactly think for themselves and to kind of get filtered into that, and then they start and then it just brings like a bad filter through there. I've just seen that a lot out there lately, and it's very, very upsetting. It
it
really
is
is upsetting.
absolutely. And, one of the things, and I've been a white person obviously all my life. So there are certain things that I have not had to deal with as far as within my community that are of different colors. But to sit here and to say, oh, it's because of this or it's because of that, at the end of the day, I want to see people being treated as human beings. I
Right.
want to see players come out and be treated as the superstars they are. I don't want people, as my grandma would say, stirring the shit pot, and then
Right.
create this unnecessary animosity within,
Yes.
because it's like at the end of the day, it's like if you're going to pit each other, you're rooting for the same team, and then we're all going to get so upset, and the season hasn't even started. It
Yeah.
could be the complete exact opposite of what everybody's thinking that can
Mm-hmm.
happen in the 2023 season. And when that happens, then everybody's going to be either eating crow or I told you so.
Right.
And, we just don't need people to show, like the players that we have on the team, whether they're rookies or they're veterans, have all
Mm-hmm.
played hard to be able to have their roster spot. I believe each and every one of
Absolutely.
them has earned a
Yep.
spot. And even the men that are playing right now are currently still trying to earn a current roster spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like Javon, Kinlaw, you have some people that would say something negative about him. It's not his fault he has problems with his knees. It's an unfortunate situation, but it's one of those things that is just kind of like, at the end of the day, there are certain things you can control. There are
Mm-hmm.
things you can't control. And
Right.
within the fan base or the media, when you have people that want to come out and say something negative, it's we want to push all that aside. We
Right.
don't want to hear any speculation that's going to be negative. You want to speculate with a hot take and it's going to be on a positive aspect. Even if you're
Yeah.
wrong, that's fine. At least it's positive.
Right.
And that's what I would like to see in a whole bunch of other fans like you and anybody else within this 49ers organization too, because Kyle Shanahan, he's not going to come out with the honest truth and say, hey, this is the plan this
Oh
season.
yeah.
We
Never.
have to sit back and try to figure it
Right.
out. What is Kyle up to now? So I just want to see, people be able to coexist, and just be able to, you don't have to agree, but be able to agree to disagree.
Right.
That's 100% acceptable. But,
Yep.
as far as the hate, like, let's not hate.
Right.
If you want to hate on somebody, let's hate the Rams. Let's hate the Seahawks. Let's hate the Cardinals. How about the Vikings? Or how about when we go 5 weeks in a row of a bird hunt? We can go hate those
Yes.
teams, but within each, we should not hate each other's opinions when it comes to the love of the same exact team.
Right.
But just wanted to share
That's
just something
true.
positive for everybody.
Yes. Have that.
But my next topic, I believe we should discuss the greatness of Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Because since that
CMC.
man since that man has came to the 49ers, we have not lost a game. A lot of people can say, Purdy came on, and since he started, we've not lost a game. Well, he's not the only one, because since CMC started, the Niners have not lost a game either.
Right.
So he has came with this spirit and just his physicality, and he comes from a very athletic family. His background into his dedication to playing the sport has definitely been proven as far as like what he does on the field. And we've only
Mm-hmm.
seen him in just, his short 11 regular season games as a Niner. So only in 11 games we have seen. And then even with him coming into practice, the OTAs, and him coming in with his physicality of his dedication to this team, it just goes to show like, man, he's a leader. He's trying to prove that he wants to be on this team. He wants to be great. He wants to, it's almost like as if he knows that, hey, I'm going to help this team get to the quest for 6. We are going to get that Lombardi trophy. And it would be nice to see people take advantage of following in the same path to be able to take along with what he is doing. Because CMC, and at the end of the day, I would like to see CMC be a captain for the 49ers. And I would hope that they would appoint him. And what do you think? What are your ideas of the greatness of CMC?
Oh, I wanted the 49ers to draft CMC, so it went all the way back to when he was at Stanford. Like he's always been awesome. Like every year he's my fantasy running back. Like even like I feel like that he was just getting like wasted being in Carolina. And so when we got him, like I was over the moon excited because he's literally still in his prime, and he just, it's something clicked inside of him. I think that it's because he was such like, he had to be such a workhorse when he was in Carolina, and here he doesn't have to be that. So that he could be more freer, he can do different things. But when he was in Carolina, like he was Mr. Do It All. Like he had to do everything. And that's why he stayed hurt all the time, because he had to do everything. See, here he doesn't have to, because we have, so many people that do different things, everything's so versatile that he's able to, get around and, just be himself, to be the kind of, player that he wants to be. So, but I love him to death. He's probably, I know a lot of people thought that Emmanuel Sanders was like a huge acquisition when we got him, but I feel like that CMC was even a bigger acquisition when we got him. Like, that, it was amazing. And so I hope that he is voted captain this year. He definitely deserves it. The spirit that he brings to this team is just awesome. He's just a great guy. I follow him on Instagram, and everything is just so positive, about him and everything that he's about. And like I said, I just love him to death. He's just awesome.
And that's one of the things too, is we have so many different players that he can rotate with, where
Yes.
we can try our best as far as to make sure that he doesn't get injured. Because
Right.
with the physicality of him as a personal player and the physicality of the sport itself, is we can clearly see that regardless of if it's CMC or any other hard playing position, they are susceptible to getting injured, and that's what we want to try to avoid. So, like Mason, he just last year, we even seen him when he had to come in because Mitchell wasn't doing so well. Mason was showing that he was up and coming. So it'd be nice to know that if Mitchell, for whatever reason, isn't allowed to come in because if he's dealing with something, with injury or whatnot, then Mason does seem to be like he is definitely ready. He's got the reins and he understands, hey, CMC, we need you, buddy. Sit back. I got this. These next 2-3 quarters, I can get it. Or, this next snap, I got this, or however it needs to be to make sure that we can keep CMC to last throughout the entire season. Because I'm not too sure what the physicality of his sport is if he's playing too hard. And you never want to say that anybody's playing too hard, but like with him coming in to the OTAs, and we seen him like playing hard, like the game was going to start the next day. Is he playing too hard? Or is he trying to prove to his teammates that not only he wants to be there, but maybe uplift them? What do you think?
Um, I think that he's probably just trying to make sure that they understand like how bad that he wants to be there. That's what I
I
think.
believe so. It definitely shows because when he came in, he didn't have to play as hard. When you look at some of the guys that have already been on the Niners and they
Right.
stepped back, and they chose to sit out the practice, which is fine and acceptable. And maybe in the eyes of the team, we're like, hey, now we want to see you play. We want to see you get these young guys ready, because with whether it's the drafted young men that you picked up or the undrafted free agents, we want those guys to understand the physicality of, hey, we are on the quest for six train. We are not, we're going to try and play and have a great year. No, we're going to have a great year because we're on our way to getting the sixth Lombardi trophy to put in our case.
Yes.
And it's nice to see that these guys can come in and try to take these rookies under their wings, like Trent Williams, for example. He's the best guy we have on the line. And I'm hoping that throughout his physicality of him being able to look at maybe McKivitz, he'd be able to get them, to understand that, hey, this is how we roll. This is whatever it is that you need to do, let's get you to understand that, hey, move this way, move that way, or whatever it is. But it's nice to see that when they start clicking, great things start to happen. And it definitely seems that when CMC has the ball, definitely a lot of great things are happening. Definitely a lot of great things are happening. And it's quite fascinating because with my, oh, how beautiful. With my short years of, being able to understand the football, and being able to understand, the offensive side of the ball, the defensive side of the ball, and then the importance of each position on the actual field, it's nice to know that, hey, this person, CMC, for example, he plays a very vital role. And as long as Kyle Shanahan knows how to insert CMC's skill set into the most perfect way, I believe that this season will be fire, just like the last 11 games that CMC has played.
Yes.
And with CMC coming in and, the Niners all of a sudden not losing any single game, regardless of what quarterback it was, it's nice to know that, whoever starts at quarterback, they have great guys to work with. They have great weapons all the way around them, whether they're going to
Absolutely.
pass the ball, throw the ball, hand off, or however that quarterback feels comfortable handling that situation. We have definitely 100% many different options for a quarterback to choose from in any type of pressurized situation. And it's nice to know that when it comes to people like Debo and people like CMC, you can use them as almost like a fullback situation. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
use them necessarily as a running back. You can use them as, hey, we're going to use you in a hybrid situation of, running back, wide receiver situation where I know you can catch. I need you to run, be here, slot, whatever it is. But we definitely have deep threats. We definitely have the better run, game than we do a deep threat. But we just definitely need a quarterback to be able to come in and throw the ball down the field because even though we have advantages with CMC to get a first down, because he doesn't seem to have any problems getting a first down and even passing. He had that one passing touchdown. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Worst case scenario, throw him in as a quarterback. We're fine.
Yes. Yes, that's absolutely true. And then let's not forget about that awesome one that he caught. That was just amazing too.
Absolutely.
So just,
And that's what
you
makes it
know,
really awesome about it.
hmm
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's what I love about this squad because we're so versatile at so many different positions. That's why, like, all these teams always try to mimic us. Can't nobody mimic what we do because our players, it's not just about like the placement of our players, it's about the versatility of
Hmm.
the players that are selected and chosen for these spots. And they can do so many different things, and you have no idea what that player is going to line up to do. Like, just because they're out there, like in one position, doesn't mean that that's the actual role that they're going to play out there, you know, on the field. So, that's why, you always hear people talk about, oh, well, their team looks just like the 49ers. And I'm always like, no, they don't. Because it's one thing that we pride ourselves on. Kyle loves versatile players. And CMC is so, like, he can do so many different things.
And it's
I'm
really
just so
helpful.
excited because he's here.
Absolutely. And it adds to the creativity of the playbook. You know,
Yes,
you
absolutely.
can study these particular, like, okay, so throughout a season, we're going to go A through C, and these are our
Mm-hmm.
go-to plays. But in between these ones, this is what we're going to choose, and this, and this. And that's one of the main things the Niners need to focus on, whether it be with their offense or defense, is always keep the opposing side of the ball guessing. Never let them feel that they have you figured out, because then
Right.
that's just as soon as they figure you out, then unfortunately, there goes our game. And,
Yes.
there's definitely some games where the defense has figured our offense out. The offense
Mm-hmm.
has figured our defense out. And even though we have a very stout defense, there has been times that, regardless of if they're tired or there's been other players that had to fill in, our defense has slipped a few times. But regardless, we need to understand that it's like, hey, line these people up. You don't want these people to figure us out. And we have such, with Kyle Shanahan and being an offensive genius, and then now we have the Wilkes guy to come in, Steve Wilkes coming in with the defense, and then just adding a different creative spin to what our defense is already used to, and even
Yeah.
what they're not used to. It just almost seems as if that it's opened up the playbook that much better. And with CMC, he's great because of how you can throw the ball to him like a wide receiver, hand it off to him
Mm-hmm.
like he's a running back or a fullback. And at the end of the day, it's just keep moving the chains. As long as we keep moving the chains, then the game is still alive. And with defense, when they come out and they just, get that ball back quicker into our quarterback's hands, it just makes it one heck of a game to watch.
Yeah, you're absolutely right
But
about that.
our
If I can say this about Wilkes, I don't know if that's a topic, but you just
okay,
happened to bring up
absolutely,
something that
absolutely.
was awesome when you brought that up. The
Mhm.
best thing that I have heard about Wilkes is the fact that when he came in here, he went straight to like a weakness that he saw. Basically, he's like, this defense is awesome, but I think I have a couple of things that might make it better. And I thought that was so amazing. Where he came, so he's like, we just need like some little small tweaks, and this and that. I just loved that he came in and he saw, what we had and what was working, and he basically just went to, what he felt, wasn't working or what could be a little bit better. And I
Mhm.
really appreciated that a lot, because a lot of times, when a D coordinator comes in, they try to change everything and, do all this stuff, no matter what you got, because they want to put their, stamp on everything and have their signature on everything. And that's not Wilkes. Like, Wilkes is pretty much like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But, the little broken pieces, we're gonna mend those. We're gonna get us some Gorilla Glue
Absolutely.
and
And
deal
that's
with
what I
that.
totally
So
appreciate about it.
yeah.
And that's what's really nice because, it's like our defense has already been built to be confident. But then with
Yes.
Wilkes coming in, you hear the term ball hawks. It's great. If our guys can be more ball hawkish as far as when it comes to our defensive side, that only
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day is going to turn into more scoring points.
Yes.
And that just gives us a greater advantage to winning any game. And it's really nice because I appreciate when Wilkes came in, and he did in a couple articles that I read, he had no intentions of changing the way our defense is, because when he came
Right.
in, he already understood this defense is great. It's number
Mm-hmm.
one. So you come in and then you're just going to mend it, and just fine tune it and get it to where, when it comes down to game time, we're just going to be that much better
Yeah.
than, for any team in the NFC or anywhere that is going to be playing against the Niners defense. Watch out,
Yep.
because last year you thought you were in trouble. This year, you don't know what to expect. And these guys, they're not going to be any less than champions. These guys are,
Absolutely.
I'm really looking forward to it, because with the different changes, sometimes, it's like you never know what to expect. You're always like, oh man, they changed over here. And then you're like, ooh, I don't know how that's going to turn out. But then once you understand the background of what these coaches, and then they come in and what their intentions are, it's nice, because for the simple fact that he isn't going to come in and change anything. He isn't going to put a stamp on anything, because he understands that there's already a mold, and he's not trying to break the mold. He's going to fortify it and forge it into something even greater. And that's all we need, because when people write the Niners off, it's going to be, the slap in the face to them, because when we're
Right.
winning the games and we're facing potentially the Eagles again in the NFC Championship, and we're actually winning it, and we're going to a Super Bowl and winning that too, that's because of the dedication within the organization and within the
Right.
hearts of these players on the field. Because there's been too many times of, these guys coming in and, oh, the Niners this, the Niners that. Well, these guys, there's been a core of players that have been trying to go throughout many years of just trying to get, as any other dynasty organization wants, at the end of the day, you want to get to the Lombardi trophy. But as a Niner fan and the Niner organization, we're spoiled, because we have created a dynasty, and
Yes.
it's embedded within the organization. So regardless of if we have those same people who are running the organization or people coming into it newly, there's always still that same standard you must meet. And it goes to the people on the field, to the coaches on the sideline, to the people in the booths, or even the GM or the organization, the people who are the owners or whatnot. These guys want to win. And it's getting kind of scary, because we are getting to the point where some of our core guys who have went through all these different years to get to this point now, we can't afford everybody, but we don't want
Right.
to lose any of that, because all these
Yeah.
guys who have made it this far, they all deserve that ring. Every
Oh
single one
yeah.
of them. The dedication that they've put not only to the organization, but to their brothers and to themselves, for just proving that, hey, I made it this far. I'm still a
Absolutely.
Niner.
Yes.
and it's really nice. And then with CMC coming in, I believe he's going to bring out the best in many of these guys. I believe he's going to bring out the best not only from the veterans who already thought
Mm-hmm.
great of themselves, but maybe they'll go that much deeper and believing in themselves even more, for the simple
Yep.
fact that, this guy, he has had already his career built with one team, and he's coming in and he's not no young rookie, but he's playing with the heart of a lion, and he looks like he's still young, don't get me wrong, but for the simple fact that, he's probably in the middle of his career, but he's not yet, I don't believe, reached his prime. And even still, Steve Wilkes, he doesn't believe CMC has even, was Anthony Lynn? I think it's Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn. He believes that CMC will be even more dynamic in year two with the 49ers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
Because yeah. Mm-hmm.
and what can you expect to see from CMC this year? Now that he's going to be playing an entire year, is it going to be anything less than what we've already seen, or what is there that you're anticipating or looking forward to seeing when it comes to a full year?
So I know that he'll be more comfortable with the playbook because he said the same thing that everyone else says. That the playbook is really like challenging to learn. So he definitely will have that he'll have the playbook down. So that will definitely help more than anything. He'll also have the comfortability of being around the majority of the same players, actually, because on offense really don't have like as far as the starters go, as far as like the receivers, running backs, tight ends, that kind of stuff. I mean, pretty much the same people, which I love so much. So the comfortability that he's gonna have out there, to be able to just have that chemistry that he's got built up with everyone. I see great things for CMC this year. I would not be surprised if there's a couple of records broken this year by CMC. I think that it's going to be one of those years for him. I'm looking for big things for him this year.
Absolutely. And I have a couple of stats. So he's had 4 receiving touchdowns and
Mm-hmm.
6 rushing touchdowns, and then the 1 passing touchdown. So within his 11 games as a Niner, he's had a total of 10 touchdowns. Do you see him achieving over or under that number?
I see him going over because one, he'll have a complete season with the 49ers. So he'll be playing like every game. And so yes, definitely over.
And that's definitely going to be something to look forward to, because
I'm excited.
absolutely 11 games and we got that much out of one player. It's like, oh man, here we go.
Exactly. That's why I'm so excited about him because I don't know. I think he's just gonna do some great things this year.
Mhm. So our next topic, we'll go into Brandon Ayuk.
Mm-hmm.
And from 49ers.com, there was a writer by the name of Brianna McDonald. She wrote an article about Brandon Ayuk and stating that Brandon had said that he's about to take off. With last year being his best year of 78 receptions, 1,015 yards, and 8 touchdowns, and he's considered the 49ers' top receiving threat. Where do you think 2023 is going to take Brandon Ayuk?
I think that Ayuk is gonna have a huge year. I think mentally he's in a fantastic place. And I think that when he started out the beginning of last year, it was, I mean, he was there, but I felt like he was kind of um just going through maybe a couple of mental hurdles. This year, I agree with him. I think he's about to have an amazing season. I think all of our like starting wide receivers are about to take off. He's saying or whatever. But I do
Mhm.
look for him to have more than 1,015. Definitely feel bigger numbers coming for Ayuk. Again, with just being more comfortable in the system, completely comfortable and knowing everything, backwards and forwards, and just, all the chemistry that's going to be out there. Very
Absolutely.
excited.
And with being said about Brandon Ayuk being the deep threat, and if
Yes.
potentially Trey Lance comes out, because we've
Mm-hmm.
already heard maybe Purdy can't necessarily throw as deep down the field as what Trey Lance
Right.
can, but if Trey Lance can come out and hit the target of Brandon Ayuk, do you believe that opens up Shanahan's playbook even more for this season than it has his entire career as the 49ers head coach?
Yes, and I hope that happens, because that will definitely like throw the defenses off, which is what we need, is to be able to, to have the defenses to play honest, because they would have no choice, because they wouldn't know like what was going to go on, whether we were going to have the short pass, whether we were going to have the long, if we were going to hand it off. They would have no idea, but we would still have the threat of throwing down, like downfield. So they would definitely be like, have to be honest. They would have to keep, like, would definitely, it would be nice to be able to throw the defenses off like that, to keep
Absolutely.
them on their
And with
toes.
yes, and Brandon Ayuk, he's got the speed and the ability. He always
Absolutely.
seems to be open. Anytime you look on the field, whether you're sitting in the stadium or you're watching on the TV, you see Brandon Ayuk has no problem becoming open. Even if he's heavily covered, he
Yeah.
seems to have that ability to be ready to receive the ball and make a play on it. And
And the
it's
long
unfortunate
arms.
that, exactly. It's unfortunate that he's not been targeted as much as he possibly should be,
Right.
which isn't his fault, and we don't have to say necessarily one particular person's fault, but it is something that would be nice to see with a quarterback to come in and essentially utilize this wide receiver, because at the end of the day, we can't keep everybody, and we want to be able to utilize Brandon Ayuk. And again, he's one of those guys who's helped us for a couple years. He deserves the ring too. If the 49ers are going to be winning a ring, he deserves to be a part of that.
Of
And
course.
it would just be nice to see him be utilized as such because of his skill set. And you don't ever want to see a guy have to leave your team before you see his full potential. And
Exactly.
with
Absolutely.
last year being his best season, it's like there's so much that opens up for him for the 2023 season. And with only 8 touchdowns, do you believe that this coming up season he can double that potentially?
Um, I don't know if he can double it, because you still have Debo and, out there, and then, I don't know what new receivers, we might have on there that might shine this year. But I would say that if Trey is our quarterback, I could see him getting about 12.
12. That's a good number. That's really
Yeah.
good.
I wouldn't go as far as 16, but I would say 12. I would say 12. I could see him doing that if
I was just
Trey's out
talking to
there.
that would be
Huh?
excellent. I was
Yeah,
just talking to
12.
my husband
That's a
right before
lot.
the show. And honestly, maybe it's the homer in me, but I was talking to my husband and I was like, I see Brandon Ayuk as one of those guys who can average at least one touchdown every game. 17 touchdowns in an entire regular
That would be
season.
fantastic.
You if a quarterback would just only rely on him the way I believe that man has that potential, regardless of if he's going to be used that way or not. Because yes, we do
Yeah,
have plenty of other guys we can rely on, but when it does come down to it, it is nice to know that we're on a third down or a fourth down, and we
yeah,
need to rely on a deep threat. I definitely want to see Brandon Ayuk catching that deep threat ball, running it in for the touchdown, because he deserves every bit of celebration, and this team deserves every bit of anything good that we can come, because they've all been working hard together and facing the
absolutely.
adversities. And too many people just writing them off as they're not that great. But when you have young stars like Brandon Ayuk on your team, and
Yes,
he's not been able to show his true potential, even though he's got a better potential mentally and physically than it is on paper, it's
right.
not his fault because he has to be targeted. And I believe he definitely deserves to be targeted.
I agree.
And it definitely seems that he is fueled by a personal determination to continue
Mm-hmm.
to be better, because
Mm-hmm.
I know that he has definitely seen that, the different things that he's been able to come through. Um, and there's just certain things that you can see from a player when they're on the field. Even if we don't know them personally, you can definitely tell within their dedication to the team when they're coming
Right.
back. And you don't ever want anybody to come in and play injured. You want them
Yes.
to feel comfortable, and nobody should ever have to play through any game, regardless of how bad we want the win. We don't want them to hurt themselves anymore. But definitely to see Ayuk, and then the way that he's just been holding on to this offense, and then even giving Debo something to lean on. Debo, he can say, whatever it is about him, Debo can definitely hold himself up. But we all know that last year wasn't necessarily his best year. And we know that Ayuk has actually came and stepped in to actually help within that limitation of, okay, we can't rely on Debo as such, because for whatever reason, he's just not coming out, and he's just not, balling out the way that we anticipated him to. But everybody has their own reasons as to why they're not having any good years. But with that being said, Debo did come out and he did acknowledge that he did not have as great or as productive of a 2022 season.
Yeah.
And then we know that we had one heck of a season. We went through 4 quarterbacks and many injuries, but still for the team to be able to hold on and continue on and make it through, and then to even still have a guy like Debo on the team.
Right.
And even though last year wasn't his greatest year, we know that 2021 Debo was the ultimate,
Yes.
and he's not reached his ceiling yet, I don't believe either. I believe
Right.
he's one of those guys that has been kind of contradicted by injury, and contradicted on how he's been able to be utilized, because again, we have a quarterback that comes in and maybe doesn't use Debo the way Debo was meant to be used, because
Right.
he's one of those guys you can use as a wide receiver, but he almost plays a better fullback than he does a wide
Yep.
receiver. Although he has the speed and the explosiveness as a wide receiver, it almost seems like his takeoff might be slower some days as a wide receiver, but when he is a fullback and he bursts out there and makes a play, it just seems like that's when the magic starts to happen. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I look at Debo as he's to me he's one of the most versatile players that we have out there. I I can see him as, I mean, you can even see Debo as a running back. You can see him as a running back, a fullback, a wide receiver. Um, you could probably even use him as a tight end if you had to. I mean, he's just so, because he can block with the best of them. Like, he can do anything that you need. Debo can provide you out there. As far as last season, I kind of get what he's talking about. I know that, a lot of people were curious and wondering, about what was going on with them. Like, is he mentally there? Is he having, because a lot of people noticed that too. So for him to come out and admit that, I mean, it really validated what a lot of people were just wondering, because 2021 was so huge for Debo. It
Mm-hmm.
was a great season for him. And I I'm looking forward to him this year, because when you have somebody that comes out and says that they basically sucked last season, and that lets you know, wow, this league better watch out, because that means that Debo Samuel is on a mission this year, which means that he's completely all in. Like, he is literally all in this season. So I'm very, very excited to see what that means.
Absolutely. And he's another offensive threat that we have. And, just like you said, with his versatility to be able to, and he's also come out and said, just give me the ball. However, we can get him the ball into his hands, he will
Yes.
play however it is necessary, as long
Hmm.
as we get him the ball. And he's already proven that you can give him the ball in any situation and he will make something happen, whether it's
That's
a
right.
first down or a needed touchdown. He makes
Hmm.
it happen. And definitely when the man comes out and it says, hey, because part of knowing that you have a problem is to admit that you have a problem.
That's
And
right.
for him to admit that, hey, I sucked last year. I'm sorry, but
Hmm.
I'm working on it. And it's nice because we seen him come in last year. I believe it was right before his contract negotiations.
Yes.
He came in a little bit underweight or overweight or
Mm-hmm.
however that was. He wasn't necessarily in the best of shape that he could have been, but
Right.
he got his stuff together and he came out and he played. And so it's not that he's incapable of getting to the point where Debo needs to be that star, because he is a super gremlin. He can come out and he can put all the haters to a silence, because it's like when Debo's on the field, you don't know how he's going to come out and be played. He might not even be played. He'll be lined up like as if the ball's coming to him, and you're going to be like, all right, put everybody on Debo because they're going to give it to Debo, and they don't give it to
Yeah.
Debo. And
Yeah.
but he's still right there.
Do
And
you know when I realized that something was wrong with Debo? When he was dropping passes, because he's not like he rarely drops passes, and he was dropping them, and I was just like, dude, what in the like? You could just tell that he was off. You could tell that there was just some things that were just not, you know what I'm saying? I'm just glad that he's all in, because, like I said, I feel like he's all in now. I feel like that he's mentally there. I feel like that he's, worked on everything, and that we're going to see, I'm not really going to say like a new Debo Samuel. I think we're going to see closer to the 2021 Debo Samuel. I think that we're probably going to see that, because he really shocked me at some of the things that he did last year that were just so uncharacteristic of the Debo that we know of. So
absolutely. And that's one of the things I noticed too when I was watching the game is, hey, this isn't Debo. Like, why are they,
right.
something was going on with Debo, and then they kept handing him the ball, but it seemed as if he wasn't necessarily ready to play on that ball. And he wasn't producing anything with that potential play. And it was just
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, wow, it's not Debo. And it kind of leads to believe that, because last year was a very tough year on our team. Offensively, defense, even though defense was definitely stout, but because of the fact that our offense was just so weak in a sense that the
Mm-hmm.
defense always had to come out even so quickly after the ball was just given to the offense, and defense had to come out, and it just almost seems like you can tell it was wearing on the team. And
Right.
essentially it's been the game itself that just wore Debo down, because there are things that we're relying on, our so few of stars to be able to do.
Yeah.
And, when your heart's all into a game, and then when you go through an unseeable, unfortunate situation as far as your four quarterbacks throughout the entire year go
Yeah.
down in the same season, that can definitely, I believe, wear some people out as far as,
Yeah.
trying to keep your mind right. And it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
hard, and it's a defeat in a sense, because when you had thought, because when you come together and you're training and you're, one game at a time and you're making it happen, and then the unfortunate situations come and you just see, your pieces just going down one after another.
Yes.
And it does, in a sense, just kind of like take a little bit of your spirit away. And I'm wondering if that's just kind of what ended up essentially happening with Debo, as to why we didn't see him perform, because of maybe the lack of heart that he had, because maybe he knew that the key opponents that he had to work with kind of weren't there for him to rely on as if, he had to any other day.
It's it's a valid, point. I mean, you just, you know, it's gotta be, like disheartening, to go through things like that. So I could definitely see that. The one thing that I wanted to comment when you brought it up again, when you were talking about the defense, just then, one thing that I also think that hurt this team was the inability to rush the passer. That's one thing that I was preaching it all last year. I was like, we have to be able to rush the passer. You have to be able to get to the quarterback. Like, you can't, you know what I'm saying? Like, and there were some games where we just could not do it. No, we could not get to the quarterback. And that right there is a staple that I think that Wilkes is bringing in, which is one of the tweaks that I think that he's tweaking. Of course, it also helps to get one of the best defensive players in the game, on the squad now, which I'm very excited about. That helps so tremendously, a whole lot. But I really feel like that if this year that we're able to rush the passer and get to the passer like like we're prone to do, that it'll already be a bonus for the offense to be able to carry out what they need to do, because it
Absolutely.
was, yeah, yep, it was
And it's
just
like when
one
we're
of
going
them.
throughout the entire season. Oh, sorry. Like when we're going through the entire season, and then
Hmm.
it's our offense that have the ball, and it's like, why is it that all these opposing defenses are able to rush our passer? How are they able to get to our, and then we
Yes,
go and our defense comes out, and then we can't get to the quarterback. Everybody in
yes,
the league seems to get to our quarterback, but we can't get to theirs. And it's
yeah,
like, what's going on?
yeah.
And it is definitely important because it's like when you see Bosa out there, and then especially I'm looking forward to Hargrave and what he has to
I
bring because
know. Me too.
it's like anytime when you can get a quarterback, if at the end of the day your quarterback is potentially your number one reason why you have as great of an offense, because it doesn't matter if you have a number one wide receiver, that quarterback has to still deliver that ball to that number one wide receiver. So you have to have as great of a quarterback to be able to make those other players look as great as they are, and essentially in turn would make that quarterback look just as great as well. And when you have a quarterback that's, trying to deal with it, and all these defenses are rushing in on your quarterback, or you have your
Right.
defense on the field and you're like, hey, we're the number one defense in the league, in the NFC at least. Why are we not, we need to beat up on this quarterback. We need to beat up on
Yes,
this quarterback because
absolutely.
essentially when we get to the end of the game, we already know when it comes to the time clock management, we can hold that ball for 8 minutes plus when it comes to just going through our downs or whatnot. So we
Hmm.
can manage the time. We can control every bit of that game. But
Yes.
we just want to be able to make the opposing offense tired. And, the defense obviously isn't going to become tired because our offense at the time is super easy to get to. It's like, oh, sack the quarterback. And it should be our Bosa on the field, like, hey, we got you. What do I say? And
Exactly. Yep.
I'm definitely looking
Yeah.
forward to more contact for, with our pass rush because that's one of
Me
those
too.
unfortunate situations. It's like all these other teams, regardless of if they're better than us or even the ones that aren't. I mean, when you lose against the Bears, that just doesn't look well. Oh, come on, guys. It's like we could do better
Yeah.
than this. I mean, we are the 40 freaking Niners. Like, we
Yeah.
have something. We can do this. And it's, I mean, at the end of the day, you can sit here and say, the quarterback can do this better, and the line can do that better, or the defense can do this better. And we need pass rush. Beat up those opposing offenses because that essentially is what can make the momentum of any game that we play against shift. And anytime when we can get the upper hand in the game, obviously is going to be what we can win. And all it is making the quarterback tired. Defense is going to get tired.
Right.
You can when you make the opposing defenses feel like they can't touch your quarterback, you make them run hard, you block them, make them exert themselves to the point of they have no feel when it comes down to the second half of this game. We're
Yep.
doing great. We're doing super great. But when it comes down to them, just it almost feels the opposing team when they can easily get to our quarterback or when they can
Yes.
easily stop our defense because when you can.
Right.
And with these running what do you think when it comes to this year with our defense and running quarterbacks? Do you believe Wilkes will have them in a better shape against these running quarterbacks?
I I really do, because like I said earlier, I believe that that's a tweak that he looked at. I believe that he's also going to tweak that. So let's hope so. I mean, we've been trying this for a long time to try and be able to handle these running quarterbacks. So hopefully that's a tweak that he'll make. Our linebackers are, they're, we'll see. We will see what happens with that. But also, like, as far as rushing the quarterback, another important thing is that you want the quarterback to like be afraid of, going down so much. So you want them to have like some kind of fear when they are even, like throwing in the pocket or whatever, they, that they're going to be hit or they're going to be sacked. And I think that's what was killing me, because like, we had the number one defense, but like we're barely touching these guys. What's going on here? Like this is not right. This is not what this defense's makeup is supposed to be like. Like, we're supposed to be like knocking the crap out of these these quarterbacks. These quarterbacks felt so comfortable. Some of them had so much time,
Yeah, like
to
all
set
they
up
were
and
process of
throw it.
throwing.
Right. Just like Colin Cowherd says, or somebody said, they had time to like make a cup of coffee, whatever, and throw it. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, what defense is this out here? Like, what? So I'm very, very excited
Definitely.
about this pass rush this year, because I definitely know it's going to be a whole lot better because of what we added to it. So I am very, very excited about that.
Absolutely. And if there's going to be anybody's quarterback running for their life, it should not be the Niners quarterback running for their
Amen.
life.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, our quarterbacks
Yep.
have been running for their lives for too many years. So now is the
Yes.
time. Just let's give our guys a break. We understand they're either going to be as great as a Tom Brady, if not better. The one thing about Tom Brady I can say is the reason why he had such a great career as far as being a Patriot. He had a great career as far as being a Buccaneer also. But when he was a Patriot, he had a great line. And maybe they didn't have the best line, but he had a great enough line to give him as much time as it took
Yes.
to get that ball to whoever needed it.
Absolutely.
And he very seldomly was hit. And obviously, when he got hit, he let his offense know, hey, I didn't appreciate that.
Right. Yeah, he
And
cussed them out
he really did. And
a
it's
lot.
very,
Yeah.
and we want to see that with our guys too. It's like, give our
Yes.
quarterback the time that he needs. Now, obviously, we don't want him to sit back and make him a cup of coffee,
Right.
but you can give that man that much
But
time
time. Yeah.
and you can still make something happen. Great, as far as positive play, positive points.
Yes.
That's what we need, because we can't keep making the same mistakes over and over,
Right.
because even with the players that we have this year, it's like I don't want to see our Niners go into a rebuild and totally miss out on what could have been.
I know.
Because we have so many guys that we're with where it's like, we're right there. We're on the cusp. You can almost smell the metal of the Lombardi trophy. It's like we are
Right.
so
We were in the Super Bowl, and we had Staley and all these people that should have got these ring, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know. I felt so bad, but I honestly do believe that if we do win the Super Bowl, that we will still give Staley and Gore, and there's certain people that I know that we will give rings to, because I know this organization and I know how they are, and we have fought so hard to get to this point where we are. I know that there will be certain individuals that will, that are just forever 49ers that will still get rings, which makes me very
absolutely.
happy. Very, very happy to know that.
And it's even like what we have to go through this year. Here we are. We're going through. We have two teams. We're going always through up against some teams that are always a challenge, like the Seahawks. But we're going to push them aside. But
Mm.
we have to face not only the Eagles, who we just recently lost to, but also the Ravens, who we are
Mm.
still stinging from that Super Bowl loss. That Super Bowl we were
Oh,
so close
yes.
to winning, and it's just for the fact that when you have made it that close that many times,
Yeah.
we can't keep making that same mistake, because it's like you have, it seems, what you need. It is, you not only have a great coach. I don't know what it's going to take as far as, does Kyle Shanahan need to like not be so cocky when it comes to his play calling? Does he need to be maybe more reserved? Is he being too hard on the guys as far as getting them to understand what he's asking of them? Because it's not like the guys that we have on the field aren't as skilled as what it's going to take, but it's like, when you're in that situation of consistency and repetitiveness, if you're going to stick with something that's working, don't change it because there's nothing wrong with it. It's not broke.
Right.
But it's
Yep.
like when you go into the NFC Championship, and then Kyle wants to get fancy with his play calls. It's like, no, we're here for a reason. We don't
Right.
need to pick out any trick plays because we made it just fine with whatever we were working with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
He seems to overthink himself like quite a bit. And if he would just, relax and just realize, that you're here with what brung you here, like my mom would say. You're here with what brung you here. And that's all that he really needs to do is just look around and realize, like I have a great team. I have a great staff. I have, people that, I need to rely on if I'm confused about, like when is the best time to take a timeout? When is the, all these different things like that. When is the best time to maybe, kick a field goal? Time management, Kyle has a bad time with that. In the Super Bowl, he had a bad time with time management, clock management, sorry, clock management. And he's got people around him. If he would just, utilize the people that are around him and let them help him to, achieve this. I honestly believe there's nothing, in my opinion, standing in our way of being right where we were last year, except for us being in the Super Bowl this year. I feel like everything is lining up for us to do that. I don't know what quarterback it's going to be with, but I know that it's going to be with a capable quarterback. I do know that much. Thank goodness for the new rule that came out. So I know that we would definitely have capable quarterbacks on our roster, regardless of who takes us there. I do believe that we are, and even Vegas has us up there pretty high for Super Bowl chances. So they also know it too. So
absolutely. And I don't know because I'm not on the field and I'm not there listening to the coaches correspond with their players. But is there some point that you believe that Kyle needs to maybe loosen the reins and allow his team, the offense that is actually on the field, to be able to call the plays themselves? As if, we know what this defense is going to produce. We know what plays we need to do. Even though you're the head coach, step aside. We know how to win this because that's why you have us starting.
it's really interesting that you said that, because I remember when Kyle first got here. Well, it was when he first got here. Anyway, it wasn't long after he had been here. And he would always, when people would ask him, about the play calling and stuff, and he would say, at the end of the day, I'm not on the field. And, these guys, have to be football players. So you have to, make decisions when you're out there. What happened to that? Because that's exactly what you're talking about. That's exactly what needs to happen. Sometimes people have to be able to adjust on the fly. They can't be like Sean McVay was with Jared Goff. Jared Goff was like a freaking statue. Like, he didn't move. Sean McVay, tell me. We need to be able to have some, like, who can audible, you just change things, like, in a moment's notice. They can just flip it and do whatever they see that they need to do out there. So I completely agree with that. They definitely need to. I need that Kyle back that was here first when he first got here. And that was basically saying, that the players, sometimes when you're out there on the field, things like that. I need that one. I need this Kyle that has control, that takes control over everything, that doesn't really want a offensive coordinator, that doesn't really want, all this other things or whatever. I need that Kyle gone. I need the other Kyle back. That's the Kyle that I need back. because that's the Kyle that is going to win as the Lombardi. It's gonna be that Kyle. So that's the Kyle Shanahan that I wish would come back.
Absolutely. And we already know it's like, there is no discredit to him as far as, yes, you come from your father, Mike Shanahan, who was his, we understand it's something that you were born into, you were bred, now you are your own person, you are your own offensive genius. But at the end of the day, it's maybe you should take that pressure of, fulfilling somebody's shadow, whether it's your father's or some other great head coach, and just rely on the guys that you have because
Yes.
these guys, they have the potential. And, it's not coming out of Kyle Shanahan's pocket to keep these guys on the field. It's coming out of the organization and the owners and the cap that they have to work with throughout the year. And, if you let your ego get in the way of what your actual potential is with the team, and you're not listening to your team when they're telling you, like, hey, just trust me, they're trusting you, but respect is a mutual thing. You have to give respect to get respect. And if you're not showing your team that you respect them and that you trust them, then how can you expect them to respect and trust you? Because if you're not respecting in their skills as far as, you don't believe I can make this happen for you, you want me to go and, be whatever it is you need me to be because you have this fancy play call. We already know you can, design a great offensive play. But what is it that when we're already down to the fourth quarter, we only have 8 minutes left of the game, and we're a full touchdown and a kick away from just only tying the game. We need to be out of these situations because when these guys come out on the field, they already know that's the last place they want to be. They don't want to have to struggle at the end of the game. When you blow 10-point leads in Super Bowls, whose fault is that? And we don't want to say it's any one particular. It can be as collaboratively as a team, but your guys have the skill. They play. You don't play. You just call the scheme. But when these guys are just doing what they're told, whose fault really is it? And you never really hear Shanahan come out and say, it's my fault. I changed the play. I shouldn't have done that or whatever. It's always somebody else's fault, which is, it's fine. But that always makes me feel like, is it the pressure that you're feeling, Kyle, from what you are living with as far as the shadow of your father or being that great offensive genius that people are saying you are? Because the team
Mm-hmm.
obviously doesn't believe you're not a genius. That's why you're still here. That's why you were extended with your contract.
Right.
It's the fact of knowing that when are you going to trust these guys? Because
Yeah.
Jimmy Ward, even though he was on the defense, we had him for a long time. So it's not like you don't have players that are going to be on your team for a long time. You have plenty to work with.
Yeah. That everything that you said is absolutely correct. Kyle, basically just overthinks Kyle. And I'm not even sure that Kyle trusts Kyle because I think that I think that he second guesses himself so much. I just think that he doesn't even trust himself. And then that's what the problem is that he has to go back through like so many times and everything and do all these things, even down to like challenging, you know, plays and things like that. Like he'll second guess himself on challenging something that's obvious. It's like right there, that is obvious. Like that um oh, what's his name? The receiver from Philly, Devontae Smith. Is that his name? Or do I have the right one? That
I'm not sure.
it was a
Maybe
fourth down and he didn't catch the ball
it could have been a
in that
Smith.
NFC Championship game. The little guy that I call him the little guy because he's like really he's smaller. Whatever his name was, and on that play that we should have challenged because the ball, hit the ground. It was so ridiculous. That could have changed the game. You just never know. That could have changed the game. So there's just different things like that I feel like Kyle just overthinks himself like way too much. and
Absolutely.
that he just does that. And I really think that he just doesn't trust himself enough at first, and he has to keep, doing this. But like you said, you brought up some great points, Tony, because he has a great staff around him, and he has got to learn how to lean on them. That's why they're there. It's not just Kyle and the offense, or Kyle and the 49ers. Like, it's Kyle and his staff, on his offensive staff, and Kyle and his defensive staff, and the defensive coordinator and everyone. And he's just got to do it. Like, he has to do it. That's the only way that we are going to get over this hump that we keep getting stuck in. Right there is he's gonna have to do that. They all have to work together so we can overcome this and figure this out. So I hope that will happen. He has more experienced coordinators.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And just to correct with what you were saying with that wide receiver with the Eagles, it was Devontae Smith. So you are
Yeah.
definitely correct.
Yes. He definitely has a lot more experienced just coaches in general on this team. Coaches that have been around the league and everything like that. So I'm hoping that he might trust their judgment better, for like a lot more experienced coaches. He may rely on them more, which would be awesome if he did that.
Absolutely. And then it would be nice when he did that to, in fact, utilize Debo as far as his great potential and a
Yes.
quarterback to their great potential. Don't
Mm-hmm.
run a quarterback into you don't run a quarterback into a scheme and say it's their fault because they didn't understand your scheme or that's not
Amen.
their skill set. And don't run, somebody like Debo into, the ground because, oh, they're not doing what you said. That's not their skill set. You understand how they play. It's not that they're incapable. They're fully capable of performing the task. It's how you're utilizing their skill set. And if you're not going
Yes.
to play the guy according to how they know how to play, regardless of if you think the run game is the best game that suits you because that's a safe play call for you, that's
Mm-hmm.
not how you need to play. And if
Right.
these guys are telling you, we are graduated past this Jimmy Gimmies. We want to elude from that. We want to go even further. We want to utilize the deep threat. We want to get more passing yards and not just rushing yards.
Right.
You have the ways to do that.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that I'm looking forward to because, when we have all these guys, Kyle, it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say anything negative about him because there's a reason that the organization has chose him. But as a fan base, it's like, we're watching you. The world is watching you, regardless of if they're Niner fans or not. Everybody's got eyes on you.
Absolutely.
And we all know you can do this. And it always comes to this one point. It's like you get to that cusp of you're about to win a Super Bowl, but
Yes.
something silly gets in the way. And it's not anything momentous as far as like, oh man, I was blown out, or oh man, they were just a great team. No, you can beat these teams you're up against, but you let something slip by. And, blowing 10-point leads in Super Bowls is not the way.
Right.
And we
Yeah,
just
because
want to.
we were killing Mahomes in that Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, I would love to see another Niner and Chiefs Super Bowl. And
Oh, would
this
I
time
ever?
around, we win.
I would too.
Because it would suit a lot of people because everybody
Yes.
I'd imagine gets tired of seeing, like when Brady kept making it to the Super Bowl. I mean, like, oh, okay, it's just Brady. He made it to the Super Bowl again. Oh, it's just
Mhm.
Mahomes. He made it to the Super Bowl again. Like, let's throw some contenders back in there. Like, come on, Niners.
Right.
We have a legacy that was started, and we want to continuously fulfill that because that's the only way. This is
Yep.
what we're going to do. So, if you want, we're going to do a little bit of over and under. So I have
Okay.
a few guys as far as pick, sack, and touchdown predictions. We'll start with
Okay.
picks. There's 3 for each category. And then
All
I'm going
right.
to have you let me know if you believe they're going to get over or under this current year. So when
Okay.
it comes to picks,
Mhm.
Tayshaun Gibson Jr., do you believe he's going to be over or under 5 picks this year?
Under.
Under. Okay. And do you want to allude to why you believe he's going to get under this year?
I believe that he's going to be under because I'm not sure how much he's going to play. To be honest, I
Absolutely. Especially now that we
think
have that. Oh,
yes, yeah, yeah. I think that his position might suffer a little bit. What's going on? So I'm gonna say under.
under. Okay. And Talanoa Hafunga, he had 4 picks last year. Do you believe he's going to be over or under this coming up season?
Over.
Over.
I see
Nice. I
big
believe so too.
things for Huff this year.
Yes. You know, when you watch him and he's reading the defense, he is such an enjoyment to watch
I
because for the fact
know.
that he's paying attention. And even though he didn't do or react as much as we wanted to see him maybe get more picks or but he was still there in the backfield paying attention. And just like Warner, you know, when you can read the offense and just go and, you know, jump on the offense before they can go and, you know, execute their play, they're not catching the defense slipping. They're like, hey, I already was ahead of you by 2 steps before you made your first snap. So,
Right.
and I'm definitely looking forward to Hofunga making more picks.
He's a
And
very,
then Fred
very,
Warner, even
very
though he only
smart
had
guy.
2 picks left,
Yeah.
absolutely. And Fred Warner, he only had 2 picks in the regular season last season.
Hmm.
Do you believe he'll have over or under this coming up season?
Over.
Over. Perfect. And is there anything that you want to allude to him getting over the 2 picks this year? Is there
I
anything that you see potentially that will be
I think that Wilkes is gonna have Warner. I think Warner is gonna be like even more versatile than he already is. And the reason why that I say that is because with us losing Aziz, I'm still sad about that, by the way. Um losing Aziz, the linebacker spot, I'm not sure that we really like have replaced that. So I think that he's gonna have Warner, moving around more. So I can see Warner getting more. Yep, over.
I agree. And just, you know, going back to what I said, when you watch him on the field
Hmm.
and he's just concentrated on, you know, paying attention to the game and fulfilling his position and just being the captain that he is as far as making sure everybody is within this realm doing their due diligence of, hey, they're about to snap the ball, we're about to play on it, let's
Yes.
not let them make the play. And
Right.
let's turn this over and make it positive for ours. And it's just nice to see him come out there and do that because we believe in his potential. That's why he's captain, and
Absolutely. Hmm.
he's very great. And then now we'll move on to
Yes.
sacks.
Okay.
So Javon Hargrave, he had 11 sacks in the regular season, 1 in the post, so a total of 12 sacks. Do you believe he's going to be over with the Niners or under?
Under.
Under. And why do you believe he's going to be under?
Because I believe that Nick Bosa is going to be the sack leader this year.
Okay.
I believe with Hargrave, I think Hargrave is gonna make it easier for Bosa to get those sacks that he needs. I'm very excited about Bosa being able to be a lot more freer with some superstar help on that line.
Absolutely. And Bosa is the next guy because he did have 18 and a half sacks in the regular season last season. Do you
Yep.
believe he'll be over his season of 18 and a half or under?
I believe that Bosa will be over. I hope I hope I'm right. I hope that Bosa breaks that record this year because that's what I'm hoping that the addition of Hargrave, I'm hoping that will help Bosa to be able to finally like get that sack record. and actually like smash that sucker. That's what I'm hoping.
That would be definitely incredible.
Yes,
A lot of people were looking forward to him doing that last year,
I
and
know.
he you could definitely tell he was trying to put every bit of his soul into making that happen. And
But
it's okay.
again, Tony, that was what the problem was, because we couldn't get to the quarterback. Because if we could have got to the quarterback, then he would have. And that's what frustrated me, because he was like, at first, it seemed like he was just going to roughshod that record. And it was just going to be, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden, like, we couldn't get to the freaking quarterbacks anymore. And that's what messed it up. So that's why I'm so glad that we have like improved our line. I think Bosa is gonna have a huge sack season. Yep.
I am definitely looking forward to see, and I believe that too. I would like to
Mm-hmm.
see Hargrave get over. I mean, because if you think about it, if in a whole entire year a team can get, it was a ridiculous number that the Eagles were able to, in a cumulative number, a total number
Yeah,
of sacks they
that's
had within
true.
the whole year. I would like to believe that Hargrave potentially can get almost just as many as what Bosa had achieved last season, and I'm
I
hoping
hope
that Bosa
so.
can achieve more. But that's just me being, a positive Homer fan, just
No,
hoping
it's
for the best.
fine.
But it would be definitely great. I mean, especially if essentially they can go and change that pass rush, because there are times where we all know how hungry of a beast Bosa was, and when he's being held back, not even able to even touch the quarterback with his pinky or even breathe on him, it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, like we understand, how hungry you are, and just to see that you're not getting what fuels you to get out there and play, it's definitely quite concerning, because it's just kind of minimizing what your skill set is. We understand that you can get more than the 18 and a half in a year, but it does take teamwork. Even if it's you making the sack, there are assisted sacks as well. There are guys that are to the left of you or to the right of you or
Yeah.
behind you or in front of you. They're all trying to make sure that, hey, here comes Bosa, we're going to let him
Mm-hmm.
go get that quarterback. And it's really nice to know that he can definitely get out there and do a little bit better this coming up 2023 season.
Yes.
And the next person for sacks is Eric Armstead, and he only had 2 sacks in the postseason. But where do you see him? Because I know that he doesn't potentially have too many more seasons as a 49er. And
Right.
we understand that the plantar fasciitis, situation that he goes through with the flare-ups and whatnot. But do you believe he can achieve more sacks than last year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he can. Yeah.
I mean, I would hope at least even one more.
I
And,
know, that's why I'm
because
saying, like, even if it's just one, I think at least. I
absolutely,
don't
because
think so.
he comes out there also, and even though he's not getting to the quarterback as often as Bosa, you can tell he's just as much of a leader on that line as
Oh
any of those
yes,
other defensive
absolutely.
guys. He's trying his best to make sure that he pays attention to the way that the offense is reading, because you know it's anybody's game. You might line up with 10 other guys, but still at the end of the day, everybody has the same objective. If you can get to the quarterback and you're eligible to touch him, get him. That's what your job is. Get him and just make that quarterback run for his life.
Yeah.
And that would be definitely something interesting. And then now we'll move on to touchdowns, and just 3 guys for touchdown predictions.
Mm-hmm.
So CMC, he had 5 touchdowns in the regular season rushing, 4 receiving touchdowns, and 1 touchdown in the postseason. So a total of 10. Do you believe he will have over or under this coming up season?
Oh, it'll be over
Over.
because they have like more games and everything. So yeah, definitely over.
Excellent. And do you have a wild guess? I won't hold you to your number, but do you have a wild guess of how many touchdowns he would have?
You might not, but some people out there in the chat will. um. Hmm. Let me see. CMC. Uh. I know he's gonna have like rushing. I'll go with I'll go with 8 rushing. Um, he had 4 receiving.
for receiving. Hmm.
I'll go with 8 rushing. I'll go with 6 receiving. Because hell, he could have a game where he could have two receiving. He's just that great. He
Hmm.
could have that. And then the one what?
And then he had one, oh, it was in the postseason. I
Oh,
do have
oh,
the
oh, okay. Yeah. Just yeah.
who else
I'll
rushing
go
stuff
with 8 and 6. Yep. Hmm.
receiving.
So definitely
Excellent.
over, way over.
And I would definitely like to see that because again, he comes out and he's trying to prove, and he doesn't even really come out like he's trying to prove anything except for I'm showing you I am serious about winning. I'm serious about being a part of this team. I'm serious about building up the guys around me because if I can do it, you can too. And I believe that he definitely can at least double. I'm looking forward to a combined between rushing and receiving 20 for sure touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that'll
I
be
love it.
throughout into the postseason. But I would believe 20, and same thing for Ayuk because if Ayuk is as great as he is, I would like to believe, and then he's our next guy too. He had only 8 regular season touchdowns, nothing in the post. He had yeah, just a total of 8. Um, but I know that he has the potential to do more, and
Oh yes.
it's because the way that he was. When you go through 4 quarterbacks, and then this quarterback works better than the other quarterback, and
Hmm.
he's already proven. You got 8 throughout an entire year. I believe he can get at least one target for a touchdown each game, and that's why I would come off of my ridiculous number of Ayuk can easily get 17 touchdowns.
Oh
But
yeah.
what do you believe as far as over or under 8 from according to last year, and do you have any particular number in specific?
Um, Definitely over.
Oh,
um, I feel like that. mm, Let me see. I don't really have a number. I thought about that one. Let me see. I know it's going to be over that though.
absolutely.
And
And especially with him already in that mindset of he feels that he's about to break out, he's going to have
yes,
this great year. It
yes.
just only goes to show that whatever his confidence level was last year and him
Mm-hmm.
having the record he had, because last year was his best season so far. And if he's going to come into this season with a better mindset, that I believe easily he can double those numbers. I mean, if he's putting in 10 times the effort than he was able to last season because of the fact of there are a lot of unfortunate situations that can stop the whole entire team from producing as highly as they could have. Um,
Yep.
I like Ayuk. Ayuk is my favorite. He's one of those guys that came in and you just watch him and you're like, why aren't they targeting him? And then you hear Kyle Shanahan, and then he didn't specifically say Ayuk was in the doghouse, but he sure was looking like he was being treated like he was put into a doghouse. And when he
Right.
came
He
in,
might as well have been in the doghouse.
yeah, and not everybody starts off as strong as other people, but he's already proven like, hey, utilize me, build my confidence, let me understand how you work and how my guys are working, because I'm going to come out there and I'm going to win, and I'm going to win with all these guys because these
Yeah.
guys they want to. And then last one is Debo. He had 2 regular touchdowns, and that was receiving, and then he had 3 rushing touchdowns, so a total of 5 touchdowns last year. Do you believe he's over or under this coming up season?
Oh, he's way over. The same thing for Ayuk when Debo's talking about how crappy his season was last year and how bad it was compared to this year. I'm looking for Debo to have some huge things happen this year as well. I love the
Absolutely. And
fact that our offense is like in a whole, it's like all of them have this mentality of something to prove. And
mhm.
that's the best kind of players to have. Players that are going to go out there and they're going to give it their best because they have so much to prove. They're like, we left so much out here last year and we've still got so much left. that we can do, that we know, and all these things, and that we're just gonna give our all. We're just gonna, leave it all out here. We're gonna. I mean, it's so exciting to all these players that have said, have said all these things, all these tweets I've seen, like all this of like, these guys are just like, man, this year is gonna be different because our mentality is just like, you can just tell by their mentality, they are just ready to just prove everyone wrong. They really are ready to just prove everyone wrong, and I love it. I love it so much. So definitely over. I don't really have
Absolutely.
any numbers with Debo, but I do know that it's going to be way over.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. It's like, we have all these guys that can just essentially get us these points for our offense. You have
Yes.
Ayuk, Kittle, and Debo, and anybody else in between. Jawan Jennings, he has definitely been an up and coming star. And, I don't know if he'll be making the team or not because, they've got these other guys that are coming in like Ronnie Bell, and he's looking good. So at the end of the day, it's like, we're going to start this season with already something great, and then we're just going to add to the greatness of something that is not foreseeable, because all we have to look at is what we see in the OTAs in comparison to, what we see as far as stat wise because of the
Right.
combine or the college. And they're going to
Mm-hmm.
be coming in, being taken under their wing with a great offense, not only with the coaching staff, but with, all these guys such as Trent Williams, who seems to always prove that he'll take any guy under his wing when it comes to the offense and just help just build them up and build them up. And it's just definitely looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing how this whole team is going to generate itself throughout this season, because I can't even begin to imagine or compare it to any other season that I've already been able to understand and watch, because there's just so much potential and there's just so much heart and drive. It's almost in a sense where it's going to be unexplainable. It's going to be unexpected, because the fact of they've had so much to prove for so long. They've had these adversities that had just been very heartbreaking to them. I mean, when you see a grown man cry on the side of the field because they just, what was so close to them achieving was just stripped right in front of them, it's very disheartening and very devastating. And I believe that that's feeling every single one of these guys on our offense, every single one
Absolutely.
of these guys on defense. And I believe when these guys come back in this coming up year, even with the rookies that they potentially may be using to fill in the different spots, um, I can't expect anything less than great from the 49ers. And not just because I'm a fan and even a Homer fan at that, but I believe that there is just something about this season that it truly, I believe, will be special. I can't really explain it. It's just, you feel it in your soul. You feel it, when you're even just talking about it, your skin gets the goosebumps, because you're just like, from all these different seasons we've been watching and going through these highs and lows with this team. And it's just like, I can smell it. We're this close. Not
Yeah.
like we were before. I feel like these guys have enough to not only make it to the Super Bowl, but we are going to win. If we didn't have the situation with our quarterbacks last year, and even if it was just Brock Purdy at the end of the year that was playing, if he
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have gotten injured, I believe we would have whipped the Eagles easily.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We definitely would have, because we were already like in position to, like, our offense was like about to really, get rolling. We were about to get that done. Even Hargrave said when he came over here that he knows that completely, that game would have been different if we had Brock for the whole game. And then there's
Hmm.
other Eagles players that also said the same thing. They said, how could you not see that, because it was just the way that it was even starting to turn, like they, and then that happened. Like we literally were about to light them up. Really were. And
Absolutely.
we just couldn't do anything. And so
And you
Yep.
know what got me when we were watching the team, and just as soon as the game started, Fred Warner, he ended up getting that stinger like really early in the game. I think it's like the opening drive when our defense went out, and he ended up getting that stinger, and he came back fine. But it was almost like when that had happened, it almost was like a very unsettling thought in the back of the mind of, oh God, what's happening? Because that was, I mean, any kind of injury or any kind of situation like that is, never expected. But it's just kind of like one of those things, like, you see somebody like Fred Warner who can stay, maintain being healthy throughout an entire season. And for him to get something so suddenly like that, you're like, ooh, what's going
Yeah.
on now? And then, to lead up to the injury with Brock Purdy and his elbow, it's just kind of like, oh, damn, this is definitely not something that we were expecting. And nobody ever expects, obviously, any kind of situation like that to happen. But
Yep.
and then when they threw Josh Johnson in, he seems to be going on. He's continuing his career. He's his third time's a charm now with the Ravens.
Hmm.
That poor guy came out there, and once he got hit and he got his concussion, he was done. He's like, no, this isn't right.
I
This
know
is crazy.
he's like, it's like I'm not going back out there. It's not
That's right. He's like, no, if I'm not concussed, I'm going to tell you I'm not feeling good because I'm not going back out there. Those
exactly. He's
guys
like,
are
I'm done. I'm not doing that. That's that. You're not gonna knock me around all over the place for this whole game. It's not happening. But it's like I was
absolutely.
telling people when Philly realized that we couldn't like advance the ball. Like that all we could do was like hand the ball off, and we couldn't do anything else. You know, I mean, they just stacked the I mean, they didn't even
Back
because they
that
knew that
box.
he couldn't throw it. So, they knew that that wasn't going to get it done. And they already knew. It's like my son who, is an Eagles fan said, that he knew. And what made him mad is, our defense was actually, making Jalen Hurts look quite average for a while there. And he was getting
Hmm.
mad because, he was going back to that's why they wanted to trade you and all this other stuff. I had the new quarterback. Because our defense was doing their job and they were, until they got tired, having to come out there because our offense kept, I'm saying, was just completely stagnant because we didn't have any, you know. So that was, hey, that's what it is. But I really believe that being in the position again, and it wouldn't surprise me if it wasn't Philly and the 49ers back in that position again in the NFC Championship game, would not surprise me at all. Um, I just feel like the outcome's going to be different. I feel like that the 49ers are going to be well prepared with their quarterbacks, and
Hmm.
it'll be a different outcome. And we'll step on Philly to make it to the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. And if you think about it, the NFC, really the only two teams that they have that would be contenders would be the Eagles and the 49ers.
Right.
So I would see easily it would be them facing up against each other, not only, this coming up, week 13, but then also back into the championship. And
Hmm.
that'll definitely be tough, but I'm hoping by that time. And I was talking to Bryant too, my husband, and I was telling him, I hope by the time week 13 comes, the Eagles are beat up and they're tired. And he's like, no. He's like, they need to be healthy. They need to be ready because the Niners need to go in there because they need to play them full front
Yes.
and be like, we're whipping you. We have no
Absolutely.
excuses. Nobody can say, oh, it's because they were beat up and tired. No, we're
Right.
like
I
we were doing
agree with Bryant. I feel Bryant, I agree with you. I want them to be at full strength. I want the 49ers to be at full strength. I want Philly to be at full strength. I want to go in there and when we beat that behind, I want us to give them a sound beating in Philly.
absolutely because that is definitely the two games that I'm definitely looking forward to would for sure be the Eagles game and the Ravens game. We
Yeah.
face off every year, twice a year against the Seahawks. And, you can see there's been articles coming out saying, oh, they have the better offense this year on
Oh
paper.
God, I don't even know where that even comes from.
Exactly. And it's like, when we come out, because I full fledged believe that the the Niners are going with all intentions to go in and sweeping the division once again. And I believe it can easily, I believe that the Niners are this good that we will be celebrating with the turkey leg on the 50-yard line in the
Amen. That's the game I'm looking forward to. Like I
and
said on our first show,
so
that's the game.
we can't accept anything less than that because there's these guys have already proven it. And that's even without this year's improvements. But with that said, this has definitely been a great show. We are about an hour and 40 minutes in, and you are always one heck of a great person to talk to. You come with so much spirit and so much passion for the Niners. You're so positive, and any team should have you on their team. And you just make the content creating world so much nicer because when you can just go and express your passion with another person who's very passionate about the same team, it just makes it that much fun. And I do appreciate everybody in the chat: John V, Christy, Sin, Christy Marie. I know we had a Mariah sighting, Dina Harvey. I see her in the chat. Bryant, as always, my number one supporter. And then we had Stevo Supremo, Platform 246. If you haven't checked him out, check him out and subscribe. He's a great guy. Let's see, who else did I miss? I don't like missing anybody. David McNiner. He's great. You can always catch him on either Saturdays or Sundays with Bryant, or even on the Monday night show, Monday night show with Bryant. But we had definitely a fire chat. And Peachy, you are always great. And if you're looking for more content from Peachy, you can always catch her on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. She's always in the nitty gritty Niners. I can't talk. I'm so sorry. With Wayne Breezie. Always check her out. She's always in the chat, very supportive, very friendly. Twitter.com/Crystal Peachy B. And if you want to tell everybody where they can find you, if I haven't covered that for you, I'm so sorry.
No,
But
you
let everybody
did.
know where they can find you.
You did a great job covering that. That was perfect. You did a great job. I just want to say that I had a wonderful time chatting it up with you. And likewise, I love chatting it up with someone who is as passionate about this team and as knowledgeable about this team. I just love it so much. The chat was amazing. Thank everyone who listened in, everyone who was going to listen in. Wayne Breezie is actually probably going to listen to this on his way home. He's at a gig, so I sent him the thing so he can listen to it. So hopefully he'll listen to it too. But it was great. This was a great episode. So I'm glad that I was able to do this one. Sorry that I missed the last one, but I don't plan on missing any more of these. But this was wonderful. We covered so much, and I hope we made it fun for everybody and enjoyable a little bit and everything. But I had a great time, Tony. I always have a great time with you anyway, though. So, yes, it was fun.
Thank you. And we all are going through life. So sometimes we never know what we're going to have to go through. So sometimes we might not be able to make the show. But you definitely 100% are always welcome to come back. There's always a spot at the table for you with the ladies of the Empire, because you are one of the ladies of the Empire any day of the week, regardless of if it's a Thursday or every other Thursday or any day. You're a lady of the Empire, and it's great to be able to have somebody as great as you on a platform like this, especially with me just being an up and coming little subscriber and being able to find you in, a Wayne Breezie chat with him being, followed by so many different people and having such a great charismatic, feel as far as when it comes to his opinion with the Niners, and having such a great show to listen to. And that is something else. If you haven't checked out the Wayne Breezie Show, I can't tell you specifically what days. Maybe Peachy can let you know, but I know when I can catch him, I do tune in because they are very invigorating. They are very, they definitely pull you in. It's a very exciting show, and I hope one day to be able to have a show just as exciting as it is.
It's Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's usually from 11 a.m. Eastern time is what time it comes on. And then Nitty Gritty Niners is normally Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern time on the
Excellent.
Wayne Breezie, and it's just the Wayne Breezie is all it is on. They just type that in on YouTube, and So, but be sure and share this amazing show that we just brought you guys so we can spread the word and get more people interested in the ladies of the empire, because it's important for women to be able to get their voice out there. And this is, just a way to where you guys get to listen to some, women's perspective that knowledgeable about football, not just talking about colors or uniforms or like that. So, some real knowledge about football that study the game, that have been studying the game for decades and everything, and know what they're talking about. So, again, thank all you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Tony, again. I had so much fun. Loads of fun.
And thank you. And I hope everybody has a great rest of their evening, and tune in again. We like to have Ladies of the Empire every 2 weeks. And I try to drop a link down at least a week before we have the show, so everybody has time to clear out their schedule and make sure they're here. And you never know who will pop in as a guest, but they're definitely always awesome ladies. And thank you again, Miss Peachy. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your evening. I know you're on the East Coast. I don't want to take any more of your evening, but I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And chat, thank you as always. And go Niners.
Go Niners.